What's going on, y'all? This is Francisco with Covenant Dispatch LLC, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Guys, like I always say, if this is your first time visiting my channel, please do me a favor. Right under this video, hit that subscribe button. If you like our content, right next to that, hit that like button so that this video can reach more people and it can help those who are looking for this kind of information. And then lastly, hit that notification bell for that, so that you can stay alerted for when we do post future videos. Sometimes we go live, we do Q&As, we do giveaways for the online trainings and courses that we have. And so if you're interested in any of that, hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted. And then of course, when we upload new videos in the future, if you like our content, of course, and I know you will, and I know you do. So with that being said, guys, you know the title and you've seen the thumbnail, so you know what we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk about how you maximize your profits as a trucking company. And then this even plays into being a dispatcher too, because as a dispatcher, you work directly for a trucking company. So you wanna make sure you know the infrastructure of their business. That way you can properly get them the right profit that they're looking for. Now, in the trucking industry, now before I even move further, this Friday, guys, I did want to say this Friday, June 30th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be doing a Q&A here on the YouTube Live. I'll say it one more time. This Friday, June 30th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for those of you who are in the West Coast and in the Midwest, we're going to be doing a Q&A here on a YouTube Live for maybe about 35 minutes or so. For those of you who've been to our other Q&As, you know how we get down. I feel like, you know, it's great for people who want to know more things, especially if you've watched some of my old videos and you wanted to get a chance to just ask me some questions. So we're going to get right into that this Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, June 30th. I'll see you guys there. If you have any questions, shoot us an email. If you don't know how to access the live or whatever, all you have to do is just come to my YouTube channel and it'll pop right up. So we're going to jump right into the video because I don't want to be super long-winded in this video. I want to make it, if I can, as best as possible, under 15 minutes or even lower than that. But it is a lot of information. So picking up where I left off before I mentioned the YouTube Live. In the trucking industry, there's a lot of overhead costs that you have to pay. Like, for example, if I'm an event planner, for those of you who don't know what an overhead cost is, overhead costs are expenses that you come out of pocket before you actually see a profit. If I'm an event planner and someone comes and books an event, and I invoice them and they pay me, you know, $5,000, but it costs $2,000 to get the supplies to actually make the event, that means I only really came out of pocket, or I really only profited $3,000 from that particular job. So in the trucking industry, overhead costs are so high that you really have to strategize and add a particular game plan. That way that you're not messing up. There's a statistic out there that about 90%, 85 to 90% of trucking companies fail within their first year. And the reason being is because they don't properly do their due diligence and strategize an effective game plan to make sure they're always reaching their profit margins. Now, the reason why people fail because of not doing due diligence is because they don't recognize how much money goes into operating a trucking company. So this is how we're going to break this down. When it comes to trucking, your overhead costs are really determined by your cost per mile. You guys might have seen this, CPM as the abbreviation. So, you know, overhead costs, cost per mile, you know, all the same thing, right? So we're gonna actually divide this into two sections. Over here, I wanna share with you guys the expenses, the typical expenses in a trucking company, right? And then over here, we're gonna break down some other things. So I have my notes here, and let me pull them out real quick for you guys. Like I said, I kind of want to breeze through this video so it doesn't take too long. So let's go right into it. So expenses. Now, mind you, some of these expenses, these are the typical expenses you would come out of pocket for as a trucking company, but some may or may not, you may or may not have some of these expenses in your trucking company, depending on your business model. So just bear with me as I write these out. Number one is insurance. Number two is hotels. Number three is tolls. Number four is maintenance fund, which a lot of people don't talk about that. Number five is dispatcher. If you don't have a dispatcher, then you don't have to worry about that. Number six is driver pay. You know, the turnover rate for drivers and truck drivers is so high because companies don't know how to properly pay their drivers. First of all, competitive wages, much less how to even incorporate that into their cost per mile and everything. So you want to make sure that you're paying your drivers good so that they don't up and leave you. Then we got miscellaneous. That's things like load board subscriptions, ELD software subscription, stuff like that. Then you got diesel. This is the big one. I'm going to go ahead and actually circle that one. And then we got a parking spot. You know, if you have a lot that you go to or you have or own or whatever, then you don't have to worry about that. And then we're going to also go ahead and put finance. That's in case you're leasing let's say a drive-in or a flatbed or your truck or both. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and add that into the expenses also. So let's jump right into it. Now, again, depending on how your business model is for your trucking company, you may or may not have some of these expenses. For example, if you have a sleeper semi big rig, you won't have to pay money for hotels. And if you don't have a dispatcher, you won't have to pay for dispatcher pay. So these are just different things that it really depends on how your business model is set up. So not every one of these expenses are a direct reflection of your cost per mile, but some of them are. And so that's how we're going to rightfully calculate what our cost per mile is. Now, of course, we're going to give you guys a scenario. That way, you know, you can properly kind of see what we're talking about. So let's just say the scenario is this, right? Let's just say you're a trucking company or you're a dispatcher that has a trucking company and they grossed $7,000 for that week. Now, I'm going to pull out my calculator to make sure I got all the numbers right. Let's just say you averaged about a rate per mile of $2.35 per mile. So you grossed $7,000. You have a rate per mile of $2.35. You're going to go ahead and take that $7,000, divide that by 235, and this is the amount of miles that you would have driven as a trucking company if we rounded up 2,979 miles. So this is the scenario. Now we can properly break this down so you guys can see it and see how you can implement it in your own game plan or strategy, whether you're a dispatcher or a trucking company owner. Because remember, guys, the whole point of this video is to show you guys how to maximize your profits. Your profit is going to be anything over your cost per mile or your overhead cost. That's where you're going to see your profit, right? And so let's get right into it. So let's break down diesel first. Number one, diesel, the way you find out how much your diesel is you take the average cost of diesel, let's just say it's $3.85 right now, and you divide that by whatever miles per gallon your truck is getting. Let's say your truck is getting an average mile per gallon. It ranges anywhere from 5 to 9 miles per gallon, depending on what kind of truck. But let's just say you're getting on average about 7 miles per gallon, right? So if we did the math, I'm going to do it real quick. 385 divided by 7, we're going to get 0.55 that we're paying per mile for our diesel. Now, if we want to get the proper number of how much we will come out of pocket in diesel in this scenario, we take this 0.55 that we're coming out of pocket for diesel, multiply it by the mileage. So in this case, we got 2,979, which would give us a whopping $1,638 if we rounded it up. So that's how much we would come out of pocket for diesel. Now, number two, because remember, not all of these expenses reflect the cost per mile. Let's actually go through them real quick. Insurance remains the same. Hotels remain the same. Tolls, we can go ahead and add tolls. So tolls would be reflective of your cost per mile. Maintenance remains the same. Dispatcher pay is going to be reflective of your cost per mile. Why? Because I also teach dispatching. Dispatchers charge a percentage based upon the gross amount that the trucking company made per week. Now, what the trucking company makes in revenue per week is a reflection of how many miles they've driven. So that automatically ties into the cost per mile. Driver pay. If you're paying your driver, let's say 40 cents a mile, that would go into your cost per mile, even if you paid them a percentage per load. In this example, we're going to say you pay them 21% per load as an independent contractor. So we got tolls, dispatcher, driver pay, miscellaneous don't add into that. And then, of course, diesel. Parking and finance don't go into the cost per mile, even though there's still overhead costs. So we got 4 different expenses that directly tie into your cost per mile. So we already broke down diesel. Let's go right to driver pay. Let's just say you pay your driver 21% of the gross. So the gross here is 7,000. We're gonna take that, multiply it times 0.21, and we're gonna get a whopping $1,470. Now, third is our dispatcher. Let's say the dispatcher, it ranges. The dispatcher will charge anything from 6 to 8% of the gross, but let's just say 6 on the low end, which is how much we charge. We're gonna divide that by 0.06. So we're gonna take 7,000 and divide that by 0.06. Oh my goodness. 7,000 divided by, wait guys, let me make sure I'm doing this right. 7,000, oh, multiply by 0.06, the heck? All right, so that's gonna give us 420. And then lastly, we got our tolls. Now, you guys let me know what you think in the comments. I believe tolls would reflect your cost per mile because of course the more miles you're driven, the more miles you're driving as a trucking company, the more likely you're gonna come across tolls. So without getting too much into that, we're gonna just assume that you hit somewhere around $300 per mile. So if we were to add all this up, we'll get a total of, let's go ahead and add 1638 plus 1470 plus 420 plus 300. We got a total of 3828 or 3,828. Now, if we want to get our cost per mile, which is going to be our cost that we come out of pocket per mile, what we're going to do is we're going to take this 3828 and we're going to divide it by how many miles. Remember the scenario. So we're going to take 3828 and divide that by 2979, and that's going to give us, if we round it up, a CPM of $1.28 per mile. So what is your profit margin? Your profit margin is anything above 128. So let's do the math. Let's take, in this example, we made $2.35 per mile on average, and we're gonna subtract $1.28. So in this case, our profit would have been $1.07 per mile. Now, most of you are probably thinking, well, what about the other expenses? Because the other expenses don't really reflect your cost per mile, I wouldn't add them into your cost per mile. However, you can still go ahead and add them and accumulate them and add it into your overall cost, so that way you can rightfully determine what your cost per mile is, and even including your other overhead costs, to make sure you always go above that and make a profit. So for the sake of time, I'm not gonna get into that. But if you do want me to elaborate on a future video, guys, I will do it. I don't mind. I love doing these kinds of videos. But your profit margin would be anything over $1.28. In this case, it would have been $1.07, which is your profit margin. This is how you dissect and place everything into perspective when you're figuring out what kind of rate you're looking for on the load boards or with a customer. You want to make sure you know what your cost per mile is, because if you don't know, then you're going to be going out there like a chicken with his head cut off, and you're 9 times out of 10 going to fail and fall flat on your face. Like I said, guys, as a dispatcher, it's good to know this, because this kind of information you can present to your dispatcher, to your carrier, and you can let them know, hey, look, I did the research, I did everything, I did the math. You have to hit over this much on average to reach your profit. And so, guys, I hope that you enjoyed everything in this video. If you know it'll help someone else, send it over to them. If you want me to elaborate a little bit more on some of the other costs in another video, let me know in the comments. Don't forget, this Friday, June 30th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be doing a Q&A here on our YouTube Live. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be on here for about 35 minutes, so make sure you join it. Guys, we have trainings, online courses. We teach how to start a dispatch company from home. We teach how to start a box truck company. We have all of those courses, and the links for all of them can be accessed in the description under our videos. We've sold over 500 plus courses and have not gotten one bad review, and I do not say that out of pride. We put a lot of time into our courses and trainings, and we also give away a lot of them for free sometimes when we do giveaways. So this isn't to bang you guys over the head. This is really just to give you a cost-effective way to learn some of these different things. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.